Hello, I'm Randa, and this is going to be about a 45-minute yin and flow class, and meaning that we will do some longer holds of some stretches and restorative poses, interspersed with some flowing movement. And it is multi-level and should be suitable for beginner to intermediate practitioners. So please begin by sitting comfortably any way that you want to. I'm sitting cross-legged up on a folded blanket, but you do not have to cross your legs. You could also be in a kneeling position or have your legs straight out in front of you. Now let's just rub the hands together. Sit tall, close the eyes. And take some gentle but deep breaths. And then rest your hands right over the center of your chest. Take a breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and again, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Okay. And release your hands into your lap. You can keep your eyes closed and shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. Roll your shoulders back and down. And just do that a few times, breathing naturally. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. And then change the direction. So draw your shoulder blades onto your back. Bring your shoulders up towards your ears and then roll them forward. And just do that a few times. And then relax your shoulders down, open your eyes, and come forward to your hands and knees. And if you do have a blanket and sensitive knees, you can place that blanket underneath them. Hands on the floor underneath your shoulders. We'll do some cats and cows. So take a breath in, and as you breathe out, round your back. And as you breathe in, arch your back. Move at your pace. And the next time you look up, keep your chest open, tuck your toes under, and then lift your hips up into downward facing dog. Arms and legs strong. It's fine if your knees are bent. Relax your head. And in downward facing dog, maybe take about 3 to 5 breaths. And imagine you're breathing into your chest and out from your belly. So as you breathe in, your chest expands. As you breathe out, your belly pulls in. And on your next breath out, lower your knees to the ground. Untuck your toes. Sit back toward your heels for child's pose. Your knees can be together or apart. Cross your arms under your forehead and rest your head on them. Lift your head up and return to all fours. And we're going to put those last couple of movements into a flow. So we're going to breathe in, breathe out, round your back. Breathe in, look up, arch your back. Breathe out, sit back into a child's pose. Breathe in, rise back up. Look forward, tuck your toes. Breathe out, take downward facing dog. Breathe in, lower your knees, look up, arch your back. Breathe out, sit back into a child's pose. Inhale up to all fours. Look up, tuck your toes. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale your knees to the ground. Look up. Exhale, sit back into child's pose. So just do this a few times on your own at the pace of your own breathing. If you want to stay in any part of this flow for an extra breath or two, do that. And the next time you sit back into child's pose, stay there. Several breaths. Breathing into your back. From child's pose, lift your head, come back up to your hands and knees, and if you were using a blanket, you might want to scoot it out from underneath you. And just lie down on your stomach. Bring your elbows out underneath your shoulders for Sphinx pose. Stretch back through your legs, forward through the center of your chest, lengthening the sides of your neck. And you can stay right here with your elbows on the ground. Or if you'd like more sensation in a deeper back bend, root down through your legs, your knees, your hips, and straighten your elbows, lengthening your waist. And then lower your elbows down to the mat if they were lifted. Slide your hands back to the mat beside your chest, so your fingertips are under your shoulders, your elbows are bent. We're going to move dynamically into and out of cobra pose. So press your feet down into the floor, and as you breathe in, lift your shoulders first and make your way up into a cobra. You don't have to come up very high. Exhale as you lower your head back down. Inhale as you arch back up. Exhale as you lower down. Your pace and your height. Think about length along your waist and along your spine rather than height. And the next time that you release to the floor, turn your head to one side. Bring your arms down to rest by your hips. Let everything drop down into the ground. Now lift your head and turn your head forward once again. Lift your shoulder blades onto your back and your chest just a little bit. Squeeze your legs. They don't have to touch, but just feel like there's magnets drawing them toward each other. And then we'll come into a locust pose variation. So press your hips into the floor and lift your chest, lengthen your neck, and keep your hands reaching back beside your hips, or hold hands with yourself behind your back if that feels okay on your shoulders. Keep lengthening your tailbone. And if you'd like, maybe lift one foot at a time or both feet up off of the ground. If you're feeling this in your lower back at all, you can keep your feet down. As you breathe, lengthen. And then we're going to come to the ground to rest again. This time turn your head in the opposite direction. Relax everything to the ground and breathe. Now bring your hands to the floor and lift back up. So we're going to keep the right hand right beside the right side of the chest. We're going to do a shoulder and chest opener. So stretch your left arm out at shoulder level and really actively reach that left arm away from you. Walk your fingertips away from you. And then it could be enough of a stretch just to reach that arm out. But if you want more sensation, roll onto your left side and keep reaching with that left arm. Lift your head and slide that left hand back in so your fingertips are underneath your left shoulder. And we'll do the same thing on the next side. So reach your right arm away from you, walk your fingers away from you, actively reach, maybe roll onto your right side. You can rest your head. And then roll back onto your front. Slide your right hand back in. Lift your shoulder blades onto your back. And with a strong belly, push up to your hands and knees again. Round your back and take a cat stretch. And then arch your back. Look up. Tuck your toes. Take downward facing dog again. See if that feels any different in your chest and shoulders. And then lower your knees to the ground. Lunges. Step your right foot up between your hands. Place your hands on your front thigh. Lift your chest up. Relaxing your shoulders down. Stretch out of your lower spine. And you can keep your hands on your front thigh or reach them out behind you. Turn your palms forward and externally rotate your shoulders. Take your ears back. Maybe extend your arms up toward the sky. And then lower your hands back down to the mat. Bring both hands inside your front foot. Lift your hips a little bit as you move them back and start to straighten your front leg. And it's fine, again, if it doesn't straighten all the way. But hug the muscles in around your knees and gently spread your toes on your right foot. We'll move between a runner's stretch right here and the lunge. So breathing in, look up, bend your front knee. Breathing out, look down, straighten your front leg as much as it will straighten. Do this about 5 or 6 times at your own pace. And the next time you move your hips back into a runner's stretch, keep lifting your hips up a little bit, like you're trying to lift your sit bones toward the sky. Walk your hands out at a diagonal to your left, and you can keep them close in underneath your shoulders, or walk them out and really lengthen your spine, lengthen your waist, breathing. And then lift your head, walk your hands back in, and bend your front knee. We're going to come into a couple of standing poses. So tuck your back toes under, lift your back knee up, and spin your left heel to the floor. So your left toes are turned to the side and a little bit forward. Okay. Press down with your strong legs and stand up. Front knee remains bent. Make sure that it is tracking in the same direction as your toes. And then stretch your arms out, rest them on an imaginary shelf, and you can squeeze the muscles of the upper arms in toward the bones, and that will make your arms feel lighter. Look over your front hand. Relax your shoulders down and lift the crown of your head up. And then keep rooting, especially into that back leg and foot. Start to straighten your front leg. Again, if it doesn't straighten all the way, that's fine. We'll move into triangle pose. So reach forward with your right hand. Place it on your right leg somewhere, that front leg, and extend your top arm up toward the sky. Open your chest. Maybe it's like you feel like you're doing a little bit of a back bend. And if it's a lot on your balance, you can look down to the floor. Shoulders unshrugged. If you feel good here, you could shift your gaze forward or even up to that top hand. And take another big breath in. As you breathe out, lower your left hand, bend your front knee, and lift your back heel. Return to a lunge. Now, we're going to step back to downward facing dog. So if you want to, you can make a pit stop at all fours first, and then lift your hips up, or you can just take one big step back. Two to three big, long, deep breaths here in down dog. And then we'll do a little vinyasa before we do that lunge and standing series on the second side. So lower your knees to the floor and start to tip forward towards your fingertips so that you're in a modified plank. Scoop your belly up, untuck your toes. Keep your arms strong, but bend your elbows and lower your chest between your thumbs. Breathe in and come up into your cobra pose. Keep your hands where they are, lift your shoulders. It doesn't have to be very high. Breathe out, lower your head to the mat. Breathe in, strong belly, press up to your hands and knees or to plank. And then breathe out, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Lower your knees to the mat, and this time step your left foot up between your hands, coming into a low lunge on the second side. Hands come to your front thigh, lift your chest. Relax your shoulders, maybe lift your gaze. And try not to sag into your lower back here, so keep pulling your front rib cage in. Hands can stay here, or you can reach them out, palms up. Or sweep them up beside your ears. And then lower your hands to the mat again. And shifting your hips back, straightening your front leg, coming into a runner's stretch. Press your left heel down into the mat. Squeeze the muscles around your left knee. And then bring both hands to the inside of your front foot. We'll move between a runner's stretch and a lunge. So breathe in, bend your front knee, look forward. Breathe out, shift back. And just like when we were doing cats and cows on our hands and knees, if this bothers your back knee, you can tuck your blanket underneath it. And the next time you start to straighten your front leg and move into that runner stretch, keep at least a little bend in your left knee. And you could keep your hands close underneath your shoulders or walk them out at a diagonal, lower your chest and head. Lift your head, bend your front knee, return to a lunge. Now, before we do the standing poses on this side, just to make it easier to see, we're going to lift the back knee and step the back foot forward. Come into a standing forward bend. Again, knees could be bent. Keep your legs strong. Your hands could be touching your legs somewhere. They could be touching your feet or touching the mat. And pressing down evenly through the inner and outer edges of your feet. Breathe in and come up just halfway. Take your hands to your shins. Breathe out, bring your hands to your hips. Lift your shoulders. Breathe in and stand up. And relax your arms down. I'm going to turn to face you. We'll stand in mountain pose for a few breaths. So rest your arms beside you. Turn your palms forward. And plant your feet downward into the ground, down into the earth. A couple of inches between your feet. Feel the strength and steadiness of your legs. Openness, softness, lift to your chest. open your eyes if they're closed. I'm going to turn and face the other end of the mat. A little bit of space between your feet. We'll vinyasa down to the floor. So breathe in, stretch your arms up. Breathe out, bow forward, touch your legs or the floor, Uttanasana. And then step your right foot back into a lunge behind you. Back leg strong, front leg strong. Weight is light in your fingertips. Now, spin your back heel to the mat and press your feet into the floor to stand up again. Warrior two on the second side. Left knee tracks straight. Back leg very strong and rooted. Reach your arms out and almost like you're lifting them up to put them on an imaginary shelf. And look forward over your left hand, your front hand. If you start to feel tired, keep rooting down with your legs, rooting down with your feet. And from warrior two, moving into triangle pose, start to straighten your front leg. Reach your left arm forward and rest it on your front leg. Extend your top arm up. Maybe do a little back bend. You could look down. Unshrug your shoulders. And then lower your top hand, lift your back heel, come into a lunge, and then again step back. Either first come to all fours and then to downward facing dog, or press up with your lift of your belly, come straight back to downward dog. And we'll flow down to the mat again. So shift forward into plank. This time your knees could be lifted, or you can put them on the mat, belly strong. Bend your elbows, lower all the way to the mat. Keep your shoulder blades onto your back, untuck your toes. Breathe in, curl up into a little baby cobra. And breathe out, lower your head down. Okay. Breathe in, lift up. And breathe out, lower down. And again, breathe in, lift up. And breathe out, lower down. Let's rest for a moment in crocodile pose. So separate your feet about as wide as your mat. Fold your hands underneath your forehead and rest your head down. Lift your head up, and we'll do a counter stretch now to those shoulder and chest openers, just something to open the upper back. So bring your left forearm in front of your right forearm underneath your chest, and then reach your hands apart as far as you can. Release the weight of your chest and your head downward. And lift your head, slide your elbows apart, and then bring the right forearm in front of the left this time. Slide your hands apart. And lift your head, slide your elbows apart, and push yourself up to your hands and knees again. Take your knees out wide apart this time. Keep your toes close together. Sit back into a child's pose. And this time you could either make a little pillow with your arms or reach your arms out in front of you and release your forehead to the mat. To come up, slide your hands underneath your shoulders and pull your belly in to sit up. Bring your legs around in front of you. We'll do a simple seated twist. So bend your left knee and place your left foot flat on the floor. Leave some space between your foot and your straight leg. And take your left hand behind your back and use it sort of as a second spine to lift up out of your lower back. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to twist to the left towards your bent knee. Give it a little hug. Unwind, turn to the front, and then cross your left foot over your right leg. Keep your right leg straight. And then see as best you can if you can stack your left knee right on top of your right knee. See if you can get right up on those sit bones. And if you feel like you're really rounded, stick a blanket underneath your hips. Now, sitting up tall might be a perfect amount of stretch for you. You can keep your hands behind your back. Your chest open, your spine long. But if you need a little more sensation, walk your hands out and forward fold. Walk your hands in close and sit up slowly. Same thing on the second side. So uncross your legs. Bend your right knee. Place your right foot flat to the floor. Hug that knee in as you sit up tall. Place your hand behind your back and twist towards your bent leg. Broad collarbones. Whenever we're twisting in a seated twist, you want to move from the base of your rib cage. Keep your hips stationary. You could even feel like you're trying to turn your hips back in the opposite direction of your upper body. And unwind to the front. Cross your left foot over top of your straight bottom leg and try to stack your top knee over your bottom knee. And sit tall with your hands behind you and either stay right here or walk yourself forward. Come up, walk your hands in, push yourself back up, uncross your front leg. And maybe shake your legs out just a little bit. I'm going to lower down onto our backs now. So bend your knees, place your feet flat, come onto your elbows, and then all the way down onto your back. We'll do some bridge poses and then some dynamic bridge poses moving into and out of bridge. So press the back of your head into the floor and tuck your shoulder blades underneath your back. And let your back be arched away from the mat. You could keep your hands on the mat or bend your elbows and point your fingers upward. Chest wide open, feet planted. Start to lift your hips slowly. Keep breathing. And on an exhale, slowly lower your hips back down to the mat. Now moving with the breath, breathe in, plant your feet, lift your hips. Press your shoulders down. Breathe out, lower your hips. And breathe in, lift them up. Now, if this is enough work for you, keep your arms where they are. Otherwise, you can add a reach of your arms at the same speed that you lift your hips. So breathe in, lift your hips, lift your arms. As you complete your inhalation, your arms come to the ground behind you, and then exhale, lower everything back down to the mat at once as you run out of exhalation. Breathe in and breathe out. Continue your own pace, the speed of your own breath. And last time. Lower everything back down to the floor. Bring the soles of your feet together and drop your knees out to the sides. Take your hands to rest over your lower belly. And take some breaths, imagining you're breathing into and out of your lower belly. So when you breathe in, your belly rises. And when you breathe out, your belly falls. close your knees. Keep your left foot on the ground. Hug your right knee in towards your chest. Keep your shoulders pressing downward, your head heavy. Left knee could remain bent, or you could straighten your left leg out onto the ground. And then change your grip so you're holding on behind your right thigh. And start to straighten